welcome to the Vandal Factory podcast.
I'm Henry Raby.
And my name is Natalie Quatermass, and together we are
Vandal Factory.
And this is the Vandal Factory podcast, where we talk about arts, we talk about activism, we talk about the beautiful moments that those two things coming together achieve.
And about changing the world one song or poem or piece of artwork at a time.
And we've got an amazing episode for you coming up. What's on the episode, Hannes?
So we are chatting to the living legend that is Boff Whalley of Chumbawamba and Commoners Choir fame. We also have an interview with
young Yusuf, who we were privileged enough to meet a couple of months ago in Leeds because he was supporting the phenomenal Loki. And so we had a lovely chat with young Yusuf all about his work, and
we've also got more provocations and chat and poetry, things to just keep you fueled, keep you going, keep your energy up for the wars to come, and the wars we're currently in, and the wars we've just come out of. Just all those slogs.
Cool, let's jump straight into it, I think, Hennes, because we've got a lot of chat to be chatting about. Oh, how's your hope? How's your anger? Let's not forget that bit. How's your hope? How's your anger? Blooming heck.
So, if you'd have asked me in the last few weeks or even yesterday, I would have said, my gut is so tense.
Oh
like
my
the
gosh,
country,
me too.
the country feels like this tense ball, and I go to the supermarket and everyone just is going about shopping, and I'm like, is everyone feeling this? Like, and I think it's social media, and I think it's this bot farms, and I think it's this, like, you see the worst, like, bubbling to the surface.
Definitely.
I do. I'm a doom scroller.
Some of us in this room are sensible enough to delete social media off their phones and only go on in choice moments. But there's still, the tension is still there. We should say that we're recording on the very end of November in 2025. So I think there's been a little bit of a shift. It doesn't help that the weather has been really shocking the last 2 weeks. It's been bitterly cold, it's been sleety, there's been ice on the roads, and I'm certainly deeply impacted. I think everyone is. And then this kind of da-dum, 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 as you feel Christmas coming up, da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. But there's maybe this morning we're sitting here, it's a Friday morning, and actually the sun has come out. There's a crystal blue sky. There's a chill in the air. We've had a beautiful morning with Mohammed Musa, who's been staying at our house and may also feature on this podcast. And if you don't know, Mohammed is the founder of the Gazan Poetry Society, but largely just hung out with us last night. And I got my Christmas box out, so he'd never experienced a European Christmas. So we had good fun explaining what all the different baubles and the significance of them out. So we've had a little bit of festive cheer, and it's been nice this morning to sit, and I've had my coffee. We've been looking at the garden, and he's been helping me revise some of my Arabic phrases, and I think this has put a bit of hope and a bit of warmth and nourishment into our souls this morning, I think.
I just want to give a buoyancy to our friend Chris Singleton and the folks at Brave Words Theatre Company, who are Leeds-based
definitely a highlight
company.
from this week.
Yeah, we went to see their show Mutton, which is about Mary Bateman, the Yorkshire Witch.
The Yorkshire Witch.
And this is a show that's been years in the making. It had to get cancelled due to COVID a couple of years ago. So this is like a big... I was really proud of Chris for getting it off the ground and doing it, and it was just a really good, fun, zippy show about like taking a historical story and like dragging it a bit, into the future and making it.
Still just drawing parallels about power, about patriarchy, about the class system, etc., etc. But ultimately, in a really entertaining. I was entertained by the fantastic performers, by the brilliant writing, excellent pieces of direction in there, design. It was just great. I'm so proud of the whole team. So if you want to check out Mutton, I highly recommend Mutton.
Mutton.
Is there any other way of saying it other than Mutton?
How about you, Nat? Great. How's your hope and anger?
Good question, Henry. I would say autumn always brings a wobble to me. The hope and anger and how I am like spiritually is very connected to how I am physically and mentally. And because of the season change, I sort of lose a lot of my physical capacity and mental capacity. But what it's been is, rather than just kind of, I think last year I just went to a sort of 3 out of 10 consistently for 3 months, with somewhere between 1 and 3 every day. And what is happening at the moment in quite an unpredictable way is like, some days I've got quite good capacity and I'm like hovering around a 6 or a 7, and I'm like, okay, I've got a little pace to me. I can do this, I can do that. And then I'm like, whoa, pothole, boom. Yeah. And I just drop. And then I'm like, oh, there's a ladder out of this pothole. I got out of that pretty quick. Whoa. So it's just a bit of like this feeling of jerkiness and being pulled, the rug being pulled out under your feet. And so that's, you know, generally I wake up with a very, very low mood. I have kind of, I think, a chemical depression in the mornings where I'm not very resilient to the struggles in our world and in our community, and it takes a heroic effort to shift that and get through the day and get outside and get some fresh air and do whatever the workshop is or the work that's going on that needs to be doing, all of which I'm sort of privileged enough to be doing stuff that I think is important and an antidote to the wells of evil that we're surrounded by. So that always helps. Then you're like, people are good. I have moments of like beauty in my life. I'm like, this matters. Here is hope. Look, there's 2 people who come from completely different opposite sides of the world, and they're breaking bread together and sharing a joke. Or look, we've planted some seeds, or we've built a archway out of willow, or shared a song together. You know, these things, I'm so lucky in my life to be surrounded by these moments that then make you feel like, okay, I can do another day. You know, might need to go to bed at 6 o'clock and listen to Sherlock Holmes and darn my socks, which is my current fatigued routine.
Well, there's no time for wallowing. I mean, that's the problem. It's the thing that I keep finding is
you got to keep going. How many blooming
I just work you know, full time, and then I'm doing all of the projects and arts things, and then I go, okay, like, we need to fix the world, but by that point I'm in bed on my phone, and that's when you just get doom scrolling. No, you're not,
Henry. This isn't true. You go to bed at like a normal human time at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and you've done a full day's work and a whole bunch of
but I just don't think it's
art.
No, I just don't think it's doing anything. So what,
you just want to be up till 3 o'clock doing that thing? You just don't want to sleep?
Do you know,
what are you talking about?
I just think, because this is what I was saying in my the tension, is I just go, I have time to not try and say, the world seems so fucked. Like, every second feels like, what are we going to do? And I know that's not a positive, it's not a helpful thing to think. But I am like, this is...
You're feeling a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get on with the episode, and...
Well, let's get off our arses.
Get off your ass, get off your ass, get off your ass, get off your ass, get off your ass and do something good for the world. Is that just a silly little ditty that Nat's riffing, or is it a brilliant link to our first interview?
Our first interview is with Boff Whalley. So Nat was doing a little song from the Commoners Choir, who she was a member of. She's off again.
Do something good for the world. Do something good for the world. It's a round, so it's difficult to sing.
And I'm not allowed.
Get off your ass and 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 do. Anyway, come on.
So Boff was the guitarist for Chumbawamba, Anarcho-Pop stalwarts who broke the charts, number 2 in the charts, Natalie.
Whoa.
We've never had anyone
day
got to number 2 in the charts on the podcast before.
And we should also credit this interview with I think sometimes we interview guests and we're often like in awe of them, and we try really hard not just to be like a fangirl and a fanboy who are like, and then in this interview, because we know Boff quite well, we just dropped the facade and got to be like, hi Boff, we love you.
But Boff is like, if
what a hero, man.
So like us, he's based in Leeds and lived here a very, very long time, but like you'll bump into him at a protest or an arts event. And I was at the...
So kind. Yeah. So humble.
He's like
so talented.
He's like oh, hey up. Like that's his like, all right, hey up.
So clever. His writing is brilliant. His the way, a true artist in the sense of every time I see even just like a Facebook post that he's written, or I read something he's put out in a book, or whether it's a song or a play, I think, gosh, yeah, you've just poked and found a little window into my soul here, Boff, that I didn't know that window existed. You've articulated things I feel in a way that I could never articulate them. What a privilege it is to be around him and know him.
We're talking about But Life Isn't Like That. Which
talking about what?
That's his book. And it's this strange sort of autobiography, but it's almost like a zine, and the writing's all over, and literally all over. Like some of it's upside down, some of it's in strange paragraphs, it goes to the side. It's in big bold text, and sometimes there's little tiny footnotes. I'm
Brilliant.
holding a copy in this bright beaming yellow. It's so much worth.
Yeah,
on with Mr. Whalley.
Here's the chat with Mr. Whalley. Hello, hi Boff, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, actually, I've got an ulcer on the inside of my bottom lip, which is really bugging me, really painful. So, but apart from that,
just don't talk very much in this interview. It's fine.
Yeah. I'll just talk.
Everything that's going on in the world at the moment, and you've got an ulcer.
Yeah, I know. That's probably why I've got it. Yeah.
Oh, you're such a brave little soldier. No, if people at home listening don't know, we're good pals, and you've been a solid supporter of the Vandal Factory podcast for a very long time, through Commoners Choir, or knowing Henry as being a nerdy little punk boy on the scene, and you didn't hold him being a millennial up against him, which we greatly appreciate. Thanks, Boff.
I do want to. I'm just going to point out to start with, I am wearing my Chumbawamba jumper, which
Chumbawamba.
Oh wow!
But I think Chumbawamba jumper
That's
sounds
cool.
like a Half Man Half Biscuit song.
Yeah.
So I
brilliant.
propose that.
It looks
Natalie,
good.
you had an important question.
Where I was getting with that waffle was, even throughout these years of being pals, there's something I've always needed to ask you, Boff, and that's what do you do when you get knocked down?
Well, you don't just get straight back up again. Every time. There's got to be a thought process going in place first, and a kind of plan as to how you're not going to get knocked down again.
Okay.
Otherwise, just history repeating.
Yeah.
I see.
Look, you've got to learn.
This is where we've been going wrong all this time.
Well, hopefully we learn through this beautiful tome that we have here in Vandal Factory HQ, which is But Life Isn't Like That, Is It? Which is a sort of autobiography, a sort of manifesto, a sort of ramble, a sort of piecemeal. But Boff, let's start at the beginning. It's that book you talk about disruptors, and I wondered, was there a point in your life when you went, "Oh, I'm a disruptor"?
No, not really. What I did know is that so one of the kinds of disruption is like being a self-disruptor, as in, like Malcolm McLaren, just deciding that's what I am. And I don't think I was ever brave enough to be as good at it as Malcolm McLaren. But at the same time, what I did is that I always, throughout all my life, I've gathered other people around me, so that I can kind of I can be brave in numbers, basically.
Yeah.
That's how and then I think we can be disruptive together with whoever I'm working with.
And what was your starting point for writing this book?
It was two things. Firstly, it was the the idea that people just kept saying, especially in things like self-help books, people say, oh, you know, tell your life as a story, and, you know, make the story of your life be full of positivity and hope and all that sort of thing. And it just kind of wound me up, because I thought life is much more interesting than just following that same old story pattern. Even though I love stories, absolutely love stories, but so I wanted to just tell lots of stories that I've picked up along the way that are just weird and interesting, and don't go where you want them, don't go where you expect them to go. But then the second reason was because I started that thing of going to meet people who I thought had completely disrupted my life. Even some of them people who had no idea who I was and why I was calling on them, and sit down with them and just say thank you, which is a lot harder than you know, when you sit down with someone and you're having a cup of tea and you're having a nice chat, and then you say, anyway, the reason I'm here is because I just want to say thank you. It just sounds weird.
Yeah.
That face you did then, that it's like that's it's like people don't know what to do with it. I just want to say thank you. Oh God, he's a bit weird.
It's vulnerable, isn't it? It opens up a vulnerable space.
Yeah.
And yet also at the same time, I think, well, that's one of the reasons we artists do what we do, is to share and to pass on and to inform and to inspire. So in some ways it should be really natural to say you affected me, because that's what art is. And yet, like you say, it's a tricky fish to get your hands on.
Yeah. Tricky fish to get your hands on.
It's a lovely turn of phrase. I gave him a nod for that. That was well done. But go on, tell us more about who those people were and how those conversations went, and how those conversations then led you to writing this lovely book, which is in itself a disruption of stories, because it doesn't follow a typical format. The tone changes, the font changes. It's a series of patchwork stories, and poems and lyrics and all sorts. So tell us a little bit more about it.
I usually kind of tell the story about the first Disruptors, which is Welfare State International, especially since John Fox from Welfare State International just died last week, which was sad. But so I've been talking about him a lot. But instead of that, I'll talk about Dick Witts. Well, Dick and Louise Alderman from the Manchester Musicians Collective. So me and Sage from Not Sensibles, an old Burnley punk band, we went to Manchester because I'd seen an advert in Melody Maker, I think, saying Manchester Musicians Collective, you know, second meeting or something. So we went to it, not having an idea what it was, but Sage thought, ooh, maybe we could get a gig in Manchester out of it. That's all we went for, really. And it completely opened our eyes to the idea that there are people who gather as collectives without somebody telling them what to do and create things, create fanzines and gigs and all that sort of stuff. And there were all these, so it was, I mean, literally it was like people from like Buzzcocks, The Fall, whatever, you know, all those kind of people. And they were Mick Hucknall, and they were discussing who had a van that they could borrow for a gig at the weekend, and did anybody know if they could get the PA from Band on the Wall and use it at such and such place, and who would be able to bring it back. And they were all having this discussion, and I just thought music kind of came from, even punk music, it kind of came from the music magazines and from managers and from record labels. So we didn't know about this thing. And then me and Sage, when we left that meeting, I went to another one on my own. But we took those ideas back to Burnley and back to East Lancashire, where there were loads of fantastic people who were really good at organising, who kind of set it all in motion. But it was so inspiring, so incredibly inspiring, just the idea that you can actually do gigs and fanzines and everything yourself. It wasn't a given back then, absolutely not at all. If you think about Buzzcocks being basically the first real, I mean, I know Desperate Bicycles did it as well, but Buzzcocks being the first kind of punk band to make their own single, just because they had some money that Pete Shelley's gran had left him when she died or something, I can't remember. And they didn't even, didn't go to a record label, just set up their own. It was an absolute revelation. And so we went back, and Simon from from Burnley, from the arts organisation there. He said, "Well, we'll set up a record label, and we'll have a musicians collective, and we'll find somewhere to have gigs." And so that was amazing. So I went to see Dick first, and in Brighton, and again, he'd no idea who I was or why I wanted to meet him. And I said, "I just want to say thank you, and this is why." And I explained it to him, and he said, and he was really lovely. But he said, actually, the person you should be talking to is Louise Alderman, because she was a big part of it, because she worked somewhere where we could use a photocopier, and she used the phones, and she set up loads of the gigs and all that sort of thing. And it was really interesting because I thought, oh yeah, of course, as a 17-year-old boy in Burnley, it wouldn't have occurred to me that a woman would be organising it. I just assumed, well, of course it's Dick Witts, because he was in a band called The Passage, and he'd been on telly a couple of times introducing, pop groups on Granada. So I just assumed it was Dick, and he said, no, go talk to Louise, and that taught me a lesson as well. I was like, oh right, okay.
How did the format of the book come about? So the idea of it being patchwork and not just being a linear story, and as you say, reading like your common memoir or a self-help book. Heaven, if you did a self-help book, Boff, I'd buy it. Just saying, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. I've always thought that the way stories are, I love the story form. I love the old Aristotle, 5-act structure, 3-act structure, 7-act structure, all that stuff. And I think it really works. It's brilliant. But if you go to, if you're in the pub and you're telling the story to someone, you don't go, hey, I've got a story. And you start it, and then you go through the acts, and you come to a nice, and by the way, here's the protagonist, and this is where
he's going to get to the denouement in a minute.
Yeah, it's like, there's the inciting incident.
although you say that, but we've got a couple of neurodivergent friends whose stories just go on and 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 on. And so we taught them the habit of saying, and that's the end. So that they know they have to come to So now that's all in all of our habits, in all our little anecdotes, we tend to go, and that's the end.
And that's the end. Well, one of the good things about being in a band has always been that I kind of learned to just talk along the way to audiences. And what you can do with audiences is that with a band is that or with any kind of music, you go, here's a story, blah 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 blah, like it's going on, and then in my head I'm thinking, no, I've no idea where this story's going and how it relates to anything. So what am I going to do? And if you're a stand-up comedian, you've like worked it all out so that you know where the punchline is. But I just start talking, and then when I'm talking, I'm thinking, what do I do with this? But if you're in a band or you're playing music, you can always go blah blah blah. I'm talking about Kessler's Voices, new poetry from prisons, and this song is called Certificate of Posting, and that's your punchline every time. Hey, song. So it's really interesting with a book, because I thought it'd be nice to write a book where it doesn't go, here's the end, here's the punchline, or is a nice neat ending, boom. But it just kind of leads on to something else, because that's what you're doing in a pub. You start a story, and then somebody else interrupts you, and then somebody else takes it somewhere else, and then you suddenly think about something else while you're talking, and that comes into it, and that's life.
You're about to embark on a tour of America, and we just wondered, Boff, like from your various times over in America and what you're sort of expecting to go over now. Something that has gone a little bit viral is The Day the Nazi Died by the Chumbawambas, and I think one of the reasons it's really blown up is the lyrics are specifically not the Nazis on the street, the boot boys who are going around marching. It's the bosses, the bureaucrats taking over boardrooms, and that's what we're seeing in the fascism of corporation. So I just wondered if you've, like, as you pack your bags thinking, oh, I'm off to the States again, or if it's like, was over there during Reagan, was over there other times in my life, this is what America does.
Oh no, I think it's really different this time. I've definitely been more aware of thinking, what am I going to say at Homeland Security? What am I going to say I'm doing, and all that sort of thing. I'm absolutely more aware that You have to be careful. But the thing is, whenever I've been to America, because my partner Casey, her family are American, so we go there a lot. And in general, I don't meet the Trump and Musk supporters. The people I know there, all the people from the bookshops and info shops and gigs and Chumba's people and all Casey's family and all those, none of them are those kind of people. I don't want to, go into that world. I know what it's like. I know exactly what it is. I've no interest in doing that. Hey, let's try and reach out the hand of friendship and see if we can, sway each other's minds. I just think, no, bollocks to that. I'm too old for that. I want to celebrate the people on our side who are doing really good things in the hope that becomes, bigger and more powerful, rather than just like worrying about the other side, the fascists and their enablers and everything. So I think it is different this time. But if you look at the places I'm going to, it's all pretty. It's all our people.
Yeah.
And that's good. And what one thing I can do is kind of be able to say to people, look, we know what's going on over here, and don't just think that Britain is, Donald Trump's friend Keir Starmer. We're half of the people in this country are absolutely against all that sort of thing. It's funny actually that the whole Keir Starmer thing, where he goes and he gives a letter from the King to Donald just so he can butter him up. Oh, and he's obsequious, smarmy smile when he did it. He was so proud to be able to give a letter from the King. But as soon as he was out of the room, Donald Trump was like, "Yeah, fuck that about not giving them the tariffs, not tariffing Britain. we're going to do the same with them, same as everybody else." So the so-called special relationship is an absolute farce, obviously. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to going because I think it is a weird situation, and it is much more extreme than Reagan-Thatcher era. Weirdly, I thought that was as bad as it would ever get, and here we are. It's absolutely awful. And the thing about the day the Nazi died, kind of blowing up on social media, I think he's great because it's kind of people recognizing. It's actually, let's openly use the words, fascism and Nazi, rather than talk about far right or conservative or whatever. And I thought it was interesting that was never, Trump and Musk were, they're kind of couching it all, before the inauguration, they were couching it all in, policy and ideology, anti-woke, economics, all that sort of thing. But then at the inauguration, Elon Musk, he was so excited that he just couldn't help himself. And he was just like, do you know what? I know we're meant to be keeping this serious, but I'm going to have to throw a Nazi salute because I'm so happy. And he just could not help himself. He's like, oh, I'll throw one. I might as well throw another one. Whoa.
Yeah, he's just a little dweeb, basically, that just takes to X and changes the algorithm and creates all this AI just to big himself up like a sad little bully. Listen, let's end on a positive. Let's end on a high. Natalie, what is the question we always like to ask our guests?
We ask all our guests, Boff, for a favourite song. It doesn't have to be a song that you would recommend to all our listeners to go and check out. What's yours?
Well, two things in the last couple of years that have really sparked my love of music are, so one is K Tempest. Saw them last time they came, and K's just so inspiring. I just find everything, all the lyrics and the collaborations with musicians. I just think it's amazing. But the thing that I really are going for is Orchestre Tout Puissant Marcel Duchamp, who are a 12-piece collective from somewhere like Switzerland or France. They're from all over, Germany, Holland, everywhere. And they played at Wharf Chambers in Leeds about a year ago, and I've seen them about 3 times since then, like traveling to London and stuff, because they are so inspiring. They're absolutely amazing. And you can play anything by them, and you would just like, whoa, this is brilliant. Best live band I've seen for years and years and years.
Well, Boff, normally people wouldn't get 2 songs, but as I'm wearing my Chumbawamba jumper,
Chumper.
it's what we get when we have disruptors coming on this show, disrupting our features. But this isn't the land of do as you're told. We can break the rules. We can be kind. Boff, you can have 2 bangers. So why don't we play Orchestre Toute Puissante Marcel Duchamp first, and then we'll end the show with a little bit of K-Tempest. Boff Whalley, thank you so much for joining the Vandal Factory podcast today. Let's keep working out how to not get knocked back down again.
stuff I should be able to fix, for dumping stuff I should be able to fix, for driving, for flying, for my mountains of recycling, for drinking out of plastic bottles, for drinking too much, for eating too much, for wasting food, for talking too much, for saying too little, for not being funny enough, for being too tired, for being too wired, for being too demanding, for being too assertive, for being needy and greedy, for criticising, for being a pushover, for being British, for working too hard, for being too busy, for not responding sooner, for not earning enough, for finding things hard, for having it easy, for having enough when some people have nothing, for letting my kids have too much plastic crap, for eating frozen pizza and baked beans 3 days in a row, for getting paid well to do a job I love when some people are paid shit for doing jobs they hate, for doing things badly when I'm in a rush, for being stressed and ratty with the people I love.
so many things to feel guilty about. They're not wrong.
That was a great song. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Boff, for recommending them.
Guilt of not being doing enough activism, feel that. Guilt of not being productive enough, feel that.
I think you love it. I think it feeds you. I think you want it and you crave guilt, and it's serving something else that's deep inside of you.
Well, my gran was Catholic, so
Well, there you go.
maybe that's
There you
filtered
go.
down. If there's ever like a sort of duality to this podcast, it's that Natalie is the Protestant and I'm the Catholic.
Methodist, thank you very much.
It's a subgenre.
Yeah, subgenre, exactly.
It's like hardcore punk to punk music. It's like, I think I'll dabble in Methodism today on the Spotify. I guess I wanted to mention about Chumbawamba is just to shout out that they weren't a band I listened to growing up, and they'd sort of split up by the time I was sort of getting into music around university. But they were always like in the back of my head, and people would mention, oh, you know that band that had that pop hit in '97 when you were in primary
yeah,
school?
they're so much more than
Yeah.
that pop hit,
Yeah.
aren't they? And, so I very much, tongue is firmly in my cheek when I asked Boff, do you get knocked down? Because, Chumbawamba's collection of music, their discography is vast and expansive, and they are wonderful musicians.
And they change their sound every like couple of
Yeah.
albums. Like that's what I love is like their first few albums are this like guttural 80s hardcore punk, and then they go, oh, we quite like electronic music and dance music, and then they go, actually we want to be a folk band and do this really trad stuff. So everything's different. I mean, my Chumbawamba Jumper is their second album, which is
Chumper,
thank
please.
you. Yeah, of course. Never Mind the Ballots, which is a concept album about an anarchist perspective on voting, and I listen to it every time there's an election coming round, and it's funny and silly and cheeky and dead serious all at the same time.
Brilliant.
So anyway, well, that's enough waxing lyrical about Boff and Chumbawamba. We need to catch the train for Nat's provocation station.
The chat train is pulling into Nat's provocation station.
This is the part of the show where I bring maybe a bit of creative practice, bit of research, or whatever's been bothering me, what's been in my heart recently. And there has been nothing more troubling than the rise of the far right.
Yes, although now it's maybe the risen of the far right.
Here they are, folks. They're here, hopefully not to stay. Yeah, so for anyone who's listening for the first time and doesn't know, Henry and I live and work in a place called Seacroft and Crossgates in East Leeds. And there's a bit of local context for you. Seacroft is the proud home of two of the largest council estates in the country. So it's traditionally a white working class area, which of course generations ago has had the industry ripped away from it, as well as amenities and resources. So you've got generations of deprivation. And then on top of that, in recent years, a disused building that used to be a hotel has now been used to house asylum seekers and refugees, particularly single men. Well, only single men. And so perhaps unsurprisingly, this has become a feeding frenzy for the far right. So we're looking out our window now, we can see St. George's flags and Union Jacks on every lamppost. There's Stop the Boat stickers and far, far worse on lampposts.
Far-right activists, organisers have come into the area and they've set up weekly protests outside the hotel to intimidate, to harass, to bully the people staying in those hotels, right? And they've threatened to burn it down. They play songs about Tommy Robinson. They play horrible techno music. They chant, "Send them back."
Techno
It's
music.
really bad. It's really bad, like club music, but it's just noisy and nasty. Like to directly go where we don't like you, to chant "Send them back," and this has galvanised a lot of local people. So a lot of folks coming in are organised far right activists who put stickers everywhere. I've seen literal stickers with Nazi logos on. We've seen the swastika be drawn on lampposts. I've seen people at these demonstrations Sieg Heilin. But there are local people who turn up because they think something's happening to their country, or they feel these guys in the hotel are a threat, and they want to harass, intimidate, get rid of them, and
express their anger.
And hate crime and abuse against these guys in the community has gone up.
Yeah, and we know that this is a building of years, of decades worth of being told that immigration is a problem, that black and brown people are a problem, that if you're poor or your life isn't good, then it's because you haven't worked hard enough, and therefore there's a kind of individualized responsibility and an injustice felt that we used to have good NHS, we used to have youth services, we used to have this stuff in our life that we no longer have, and now there's some strangers come in who look different to us, who speak different to us, and I'm being told that they're getting something for free. Yeah. So it really taps into a kind of sense of injustice, and also this kind of rumour mill that they are dangerous and a threat to our women and a threat to our children and all this kind of stuff. We know this is happening nationally, of course. Every local area will have its own local chemistry and demographic. So Henry has been going down to the counter demos. What have they been like?
So counter demos, basically it's like two armies, two sides, just like with a line of police in the middle, and you're just trying to gob against each other, basically, to be the loudest. And the reason I go down is because I don't want their voice to be the loudest in my community. Firstly, I want to show solidarity with the guys in the hotel and say, actually, there are people that welcome you here, that chant refugees are welcome, and you're not alone, and you're not hated. And secondly, it's to show that the group that come along, I want to name it and like point it and say, I believe in community, and this is what community looks like, this multiculturalism that I'm on our side, where we have much more mixed ages and mixed gender and mixed race and mixed religion. We have Muslims and vicars coming along together, and also locally, because the people that come, the renter racists come to shout, are much more intimidating when they're hanging up their flags. They're like abusing people, and they drink their tinnies and they set off flares, and they're much more like blokey, brutish twats. Like, I just think lots of local people who do go, actually, I'm not racist, or I care more about like welcoming people, or just uncertain about all these flags going up. They might not necessarily come down to actively stand and oppose a bunch of blokes setting off flares, but for them to see that there are people who don't accept that hatred going on, and especially people of colour in Seacroft. You said it's predominantly a white area, but there is a change of demographics.
Much the demographics changed
in
recent years. And
to show that actually when these people say send them back and chant about immigration, they're not just talking about the people in the hotel. This is, again, going to this national context of reform and this language of mass deportations. And so it's to show that everyone is welcome here. Everyone of all backgrounds should be free to be here.
I couldn't agree with you more that that's really important. I had quite a different emotional response when I went to the counter demo. I felt completely deflated and actually like I had, like, ashamed would be like too strong a word perhaps, but something that didn't quite sit right with me morally, about essentially shouting and insulting local people who I understand why this situation has arisen, and therefore it felt like engaging in just the as you say, the kind of we're going to try and be louder than you is actually counterproductive. And actually I was like, just so it's so awful, this situation and the rise of the far right, and I'm thinking about the young people that were in the crowd. You know, they purposefully bring along kids, or the sort of lads on bikes who were cycling around. They're looking at these two one's a ragtag bunch of lefties and another is mostly blokes who are in England shirts, and you know which gang they feel more aligned with.
Yeah.
And so I felt like this is kind of a manifestation of the culture wars. I feel like this is Twitter come to life in a pantomime. And certainly I am in the position where I can do more of the work where we have to convince people to think differently. And I think that is not everyone's job. Certainly if you're a black or brown person, or not a white person, to convince this is a white people problem, right? Like sure. This is on our backs to provide an alternative to the narrative of the far right. And I can hear people listening now going, I'm done with having to convince people of my humanity. I completely understand, and I have felt that, like, I'm done with having to have this conversation, and like, why on earth should we have to convince you that being a human being matters? However, it is living in this community for the last 6 years, I have to look people in the eye and like understand where they come from and understand the complexities and the lack of opportunity. There's all these different elements that come into making Seacroft what it is, and knowing why this kind of prejudice and this kind of ignorance thrives here, and believing deeply in my heart that the only antidote to that is essentially the end of austerity and education. You know, if people are all right, if their basic rights are sort of met, and then you're kind of open, you're okay to meet someone who's different from you and be like, you're all right, mate, and you don't feel so threatened. I think that generally is the case, and there's always, of course, there's a million examples of like structural inequality, and that needs to be dismantled. That I will go and shout and chant at and you know, scream at. But when it comes to like looking some people in the eye and being like, you mate are effing scum, I'm like, no, I'm not. This ain't helping, and it doesn't sit right for me. So I had to be true to myself in that regard and do something else instead.
Yeah, and I suppose it's understanding that the tactic of calling people like Nazi scum is because there are literal Nazis who are infiltrating, coming along and whipping stuff up. And so we've discussed how, are you just pushing people further into the far right when you alienate them and you call them scum, and they go, well, I'll close ranks and I'll be part of this tribe and I'll be part of this gang and these people accept me, so why don't I just go further down into this group and start chatting to this guy, he's got some interesting ideas about nationalism. But I think for us for me it's calling it what it is, and it's naming something that is toxic. And you know, so many they have flags that, you know, say not far right, just right, and I'm just like, no, this is far right ideology. This is what the National Front advocated for, black shirts, all this stuff.
Essentially what you're saying is, let's call a spade, and I can see the point in that. However, I guess what I'm going for is, what's the point in calling a spade if there are trowels who are going to be super upset about being or not upset, but like feel affronted by you calling them a spade. And actually it gives people this sense of, you don't understand, you don't get me, you're further alienating a group of people. So you're pushing people away rather than pulling them in. And also would go for, when was the last time that you were on a protest and there was a counter demo and someone shouted something at you and you went, yeah, they've got a really good point, actually.
Yeah.
Like, has that ever happened?
No.
Like, if someone said, oh, you're on a Palestine demo, therefore you're anti-Semitic, or, oh, you're on a Pride demo, therefore you're a pedo. They're like, to go, that is how it sounds to the other side. Now you can say this is why it's different, but we're right and you're wrong, but that's what everyone's thinking. So get the kind of, again, it just comes down to culture, and we have to understand that, like, our culture, me and you, of being like, on the left, look at the Vandal Factory podcast, right? Like, we're all pals, and you go to the protest and it's like our lot again. We know a lot of people who are in kind of political activist movements, and it's us lot that are there, and including a few local people as well. But in 6 years of like working in the community, and there always being a kind of social justice, artsy nature element to all the work I've ever done, there is generally not a connection to protest movements with local people. So the kind of culture of leftyism and like what we look like and what we say and the clothes we wear and the songs we sing and the language we use, I think can just further alienate and be like, that gang isn't my gang. And actually what we need to do is do the harder, less kind of glamorous work of talking to people.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think anyone, other than very extreme people out there that are like genuinely a threat, I don't think anyone's really beyond redemption. I mean, we know people that had racist tattoos in the 80s that have like given all that up and you know, have
become staunch socialists and anti-fascists.
Yeah,
totally.
But these are potentially outliers. I mean, I will say that some of the guys in the hotel, not saying all of them, but some of them message people on the counter protest and say thank you for being there to stand up for us. Yeah. So it's about them as well. But equally, what I'd say is you do create space for local people to come. There are some that have come and first off say thank you for what you're doing, and then the next stage is they come and they go thank you for what we're doing, and they get involved. So you are also creating a route for people who need space.
I guess what I'm asking for is like a more like come into the community and actually learn about the community and what it's like to live here, and actually come and volunteer at the food bank, and you know there are organisations that are crying out, and again, let's be honest about like that a large part of the counter demo is coming from other parts of the city, and that has to be acknowledged. And I think that there's a kind of like come and learn about where you are, in the same way that like when I go to Palestine, I went to learn and listen. I didn't go to like tell people what the solution was. And there's a kind of, I would like to see a bit more of that from certain members of the counter demo.
Well, I'd say the people that are local are having those chewy conversations in their communities, for sure. And I'd say that the counter to that,
the counter to the counter.
I'd just also say that like wouldn't that just be accused of all these people coming in trying to like educate us not to be racist?
Not if you're coming to volunteer at the food bank and shut up and listen.
Yeah.
I'm saying shut up and like actually get to know.
But this is straw man now. But what if you sit in the food bank and someone goes, "Oh yeah, they're all scum in that hotel. They would just want to like take out benefits."
That's saying, well, then you can have a conversation where you go, "No, that's not true."
So then it is about challenging people.
But you still get to know. You can have that conversation informed by a local chemistry. And informed about what people's lives. You would have that conversation much more differently. You wouldn't shout and scream and insult that person. No. You wouldn't shut that person down in a way that you might if you were in a counter demo or you didn't understand, you didn't know. So again, it's just like about how you have these conversations. I mean, and this isn't easy.
Yeah.
But I just think this is how we stop I don't know what else we can do to stop the far right other than try and address the misinformation and provide a better alternative. But this is sort of where we get into more like national politics and policy. And of course, we're like, it does not help that you have a Labour fucking government that are piss poor apologists licking the arseholes of reform and giving us nothing to stand up for.
They just feel like a transitional government to the next far right gang.
Yeah.
Like they're basically just holding open that door and going, well, it's about narrative, right? And about like what the conversation is. And the conversation has been consistently and constantly immigration bad for the last decade. And then the far right will go, like Farage will go, oh, we're never allowed to talk about immigration. I feel like we're constantly talking about it.
That's so brilliant at being able to set the agenda.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what. I'll tell you another thing.
Oh, yeah.
When we talked on the podcast in the Greenbelt Festival episode, talked about the Throughtopia, and like all the PhD work I do is this idea of like we're stitching the nets of a community, and what if you want a community where we're essentially going back to basics with village life, where we grow together, we learn together, we create together, and everyone is welcome and involved, and we're sort of muddling along to survive these like polycrises that are coming our way within our lifetime. Of course, populism and the rise of the far right is going to be a part of that.
Preparing all those anti-fascist playlists have prepared me for this. A lot of activism is you are angry at a concept, a system, a structure, and you can't touch it, which is sometimes very hard to say. We need to dismantle austerity, or we need to dismantle the arms trade, or the banking system. And I do think it is harder when it's literal people like
or ordinary working class people.
Well, I challenge ordinary because I do think.
No, that's why I did my funny voice.
Sure.
Did you not? Did you miss the funny voice?
It was a very funny voice.
It was like people could hear the inverted commas.
Of course, there's a movement has lots of different heads. I don't like the analogy of a hydra because hydras are big scary monsters. But basically, I think there's lots of different ways we can engage and fight against injustice in the world, and I think it is about standing up to racist bullies, like on like it's hard, but it is I think necessary, and of course those difficult conversations and building what could look like an alternative through arts, through culture, through community.
Like we are getting whipped up in the distraction of ultimately what is going to take us away from our vision of what building an alternative community. So as much as we are divided, or the people divided, they'll always be ununited. It's the other song. It's the other version of the song.
People united will never be defeated. Is that the point you're going to make?
But the people divided will always be defeated.
If you want more conversations about fascism, if you want more Fash Chat,
Fash Chat,
go back. This is going to be our new feature, Fash Chat.
Fash Chat.
Go back to episode number 1, where we spoke to Rick Blackman, who wrote a book about different music movements fighting against fascism in the 50s, 70s, and the present day. Also, that was episode number 1. Also, episode number 10, we spoke to Sharon Bailey from the Battle of Stockton campaign, which was a movement to remember the battle against the black shirts in the 1930s through art and storytelling.
What's coming up now?
Now, I think we've had a lot of good stuff, both of us doing things, but maybe it's time for me to do my own thing.
Wait, Henry, you said something interesting before. For the first time ever.
Whoa!
Oh my goodness.
He's doing his own thing!
So this poem I wrote about 10 years ago around the Brexit referendum, when the old far right and racism was bubbling up above the surface. Glad we fixed all that in these 10 years. And it is a poem that I performed at Rise Up, which is a really cool night.
Rise Up!
Exactly that. That's what we always sing before the gig. It's a lovely night in York at the Bluebird Bakery. And this poem is called Tesco's Discount Bunting.
And it's an absolute banger!
I go for a walk and I point at what is mine. That's my lamppost, that's my cycle track, that's my bird muck, That's my empty packet of Walker salt and vinegar flavoured crisps blowing in the breeze. That's my overflowing bin. That's my Poundland. That's my Pound World. And this is my Pound England. But oh, close your eyes and you'll hear the clanking of armoured knights marching down the high street. And for a time they drown out the scattering chorus of Shakespearean quills scribbling sonnets. Like a draining pond, Mr. Toad poops as his little car chugs along, the radio tuned to Fab 4 FM with the greatest hits covered endlessly down the decades. In your left ear, you'll be able to hear Oliver Twist noshing on a Cornish pasty. In your right ear is the dribbling, snogging sound of Aunt Bessie and Mr. Kipling making exceedingly good love. This is the gift we were promised, drip-fed over time, every Christmas, every birthday. Next year, they said, it will arrive with a fanfare. Da-da-da-da! The past is back! Thanks to Rupert. No, silly, not the bear. With my eyes, as reference to Rupert Murdoch, I don't know if that's clear. I just want to be very clear with my politics and what I'm saying. So this is like the behind the scenes of the poetry. I used to say it was like the DVD commentaries of the poetry, but who the fuck knows what DVDs are anymore? Still on page 33, if anyone's interested. With my eyes as closed as the ranks of Waterloo rifles, I hear the Agincourt veterans raise their banners, each with the most un-English of phrases. And a man dressed as St. George, but obviously not St. George because he was born in the Middle East, reads out, refugee, multiculturalism, diversity, asylum seekers. And there's a hiss as he says, political correctness. And the crowd at this parade snarl like a kennel of Pavlov's bulldogs with a ferocity that rattles Dresden dust and spills blood in Birstall. Remember what that great English writer wrote. Who controls the past controls the future. Orwell's words leave a bitter taste in my throat. Keep calm. Play Mumford & Sons on repeat forever. Carry on. Watch the Great British Bake Off. Keep calm. Remake Dad's Army. Carry on. Hang the discount Tesco's bunting. Or cast your keep calm and carry ons into the 5p carrier bag. Because you know what? If you really want your fucking country back, you get a time machine, you visit 1381, and you shake hands with Wat Tyler and join the Peasants' Revolt, because our history is not a tapestry of masters, gods, kings and queens and corn laws. It's a legacy of working class solidarity. This procession of Churchills doing the ministry of silly walks is suddenly shoved to the side, because in a stroke, the diggers arrive and turn the world upside down. Luddites swing hammers and smash the bars across park benches. There's a click as suffragettes and women from the Greenham Common Peace Camp chain themselves to a library fence. There's a scratch and hiss as the match goes like flames. There's a crack of batons against miners' bones in 84. There's a crack of bullets in response to conscientious objection to war. Because the past is never coming back. It's just UK gold reruns on repeat. So where is my country? Well, my country hangs on the lips like a dispossessed mod off a white cliff. It's found in the spit of the 77 reggae megamix. It's in the sonnets and the music, the movement of trains and planes and ships. It's in the colours, in the fields and the washing line chatter, the sauce and the batter, the pastries and the pasties and the deep colours of the curries. My country's tongue is Anglo-Saxon and Norman and Roman and Latin and Huguenot and American and Australian and French and Bangladeshi and Indian and Pakistani and Jamaican and African and Polish and Czech and Romanian and Slovakian. I go for a walk and I point at what is mine. Thank you very much.
Every single song you own is a banger.
It's time for Nat's banger of the hour.
Bangers.
Is it a banger?
That's right, folks. It's everybody's favourite time of the podcast. Your friend of mine, banger of the hour.
Natalie, are you going to play us a rabble-rousing, infectious protest song, something punky or rap or hip-hop that'll get us to stand at the barricades.
No. We need a change of tone.
Okay.
We need, in these dark wintry nights, a soulful, youthful voice that's going to sing quite a romantic song. Do you want to know how I discovered this song that I'm about to play for you?
Tell us all about your adventures.
One of my loveliest, favouriteest jobs that I've done for the last few years is work with actors or soon-to-be actors out in the world that are students from the Conservatoire here in Leeds, or I'm going to do that again. One of my loveliest, favouriteest jobs that I've done for the last few years is work with some student actors and actor musicians from the Leeds Conservatoire, and they come up for a couple of days to your friend and mine, Chapel FM, and spend the time with me learning how to make a radio show. And of course, not to miss an opportunity to force the Band of Factory podcast down anyone's throat, I make all of them go away and listen to different episodes.
There are key demographics. And it might be in the future that you make Conservatoire students listen to this episode and this conversation.
Oh my god, the meta-ness. Anyway, there's nothing more wonderful. Such a highlight when you get a group of young, talented, enthusiastic people in the room that you just get to work with. And one of the invitations of making this radio show is that they really bring their skills and their passions to the forefront. And being actor musicians, I'm often lucky enough that at least a few of them will bring in a couple of instruments on the second day. And this was an opportunity. This was not an opportunity. This was a time when I'm working with a couple of them behind the desk and sorting out some levels and recording. And one of the young people, like probably 22 or something, just picked up the guitar and started singing. And I went weak at the knees. Honestly, the voice that came out of this young actor was just immense. And I was immediately like, so who do you play music for? Do you know anyone who's like encouraging you? Are you going to open mic nights? And
are you their agent now, Natalie?
No, if anyone is in Leeds and just is up for like nourishing new musical talent. So the name of this amazing musician is Christopher Campbell, and I dare you, once this song starts playing and his voice comes in, that you don't immediately backtrack and listen to it again, because that's what I keep on doing, is just going, what? That's amazing. It's awesome. I'm so excited when you come across someone who's just like brilliantly talented.
Well, I think they should backtrack and listen to the whole episode again just to get to this one
really
track.
Run up to it. Anyway,
get it. I think people should get a whiskey for this. This is like so full of soul.
Sit down. This is a lovely December listen, so chill out, get comfy, and this is Chris Campbell singing Thinking of You.
The house is empty again, so I can say what I like. The rooms are empty again, so I can do as I might. But here I am all alone, feeling sorry for myself in some melancholy tone. I finally can see that the only thing that I would like to be is thinking about you. Thinking about you. I didn't get distractions seem to have weighed off my mind. I knew they'd only last for a short amount of time. It's not what you gave, it's not even your face, it's not even your beautiful smile that's latched me in some way. You told me I'd be fine as I was. For the first time in a while, I felt like enough. Now I'm stuck here dreaming of what it was. 'Cause maybe I wasn't enough thinking about you. Thinking about you, I didn't get to choose. Thinking about you again.
Every time. Like, oh my God.
Nat's literally clutching her heart.
Oh, what a beautiful song. Do you know what I mean?
I want to listen by the fireside.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Can you just come round and serenade us while we
so
wrap our
good.
presents?
So good. I would love that. What's next?
Next, we're going to have a chat with another young musician. This is young Yusuf, who is
young, as it's literally in the
his
name.
Yeah, he can't be annoyed if we call him a young person because he chose
what's
that.
What's he going to do in like 20 years' time?
Oh,
Yusuf.
So we caught up with young Yusuf before his gig with Loki at the Wardrobe. And just like we waxed lyrical about Boff Whalley earlier, I think we should say we are big Loki fans on the Vandal Factory podcast.
Isn't? This is the second time I had seen Loki. You'd seen it 3 times.
I think we've seen it. Bradford Literature Festival.
Oh yeah, 3 times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Whoa.
so you've seen 4 times because Henry likes to mention that he actually supported Loki in a gig in York.
With young Yusuf when he was going by Yusuf Yellow, which he talks about in this interview we've got, because he talks about changing his name and like feeling a different vibe as an artist, which is very interesting.
Excellent. So this latest gig was electric. It was
the best.
awesome.
It was the best I've seen Loki of the 4 times I've seen it.
Particularly because it felt like there's been such a powerful movement for Palestine in Leeds, and we've been privileged to be a part of that. And it felt like this was everyone you meet on the marches or at the Palestine cultural events were in the audience, so everyone knew everyone.
If people don't know, Loki is a British Iraqi rapper, and he is very political and very vocal in his stance on Palestine. Palestine was one of the I knew of the issue, but listening to his song "Long Live Palestine" really cemented it for me. And I think that power of a musician to take an issue and almost like sell it to you and go like, this is why you should care,
and educate you
and it sticks in your head is
completely. And his advocacy, his activism, his journalism on the issue is second to none. And I feel everyone in the audience is so grateful for what he does, and it felt like you can't really put that into words, but what you can do is belt out some bangers.
Yes.
And that to me is what I was sensing in that crowd, is like everyone's just gonna sing as hard as we can. We're singing for Palestine, and we're singing for you and the work that you've done and the work that we're all doing together.
But what I wanted to speak about was the power of Loki's song, Power to the People. Basically where he lists all the different power to the workers and the people doing shifts, and power to Palestinian activists. It's basically a list poem. It's incredible. But what Loki is fantastic at is linking all this together in about talking about capitalism and neoliberalism, from Grenfell to Palestine to borders to workers' rights. And I think that's always so important as an artist, is that there's people there that are like clued in because they're coming from a certain angle, but he's like preaching of like, so strong.
The whole system.
The whole
goddamn system. So it was a really charged atmosphere, and one that young Yusuf brilliantly, expertly kicked us all off with, and came bounding on with an amazing energy and straight into the audience.
Thundered down, got
it was
stuck
fantastic. It was so great.
So, we spoke to young Yusuf, and this is our lovely conversation with him now. I do want to mention that there are a few songs mixed into the conversation. So you're going to hear Solar's Prelude from his album Solaris, which is Latin for the sun. You're going to hear his track 10 Questioned from Samud, which means steadfast in Arabic. And then the last track mixed into the interview is his song Are You Okay? So we are at the Wardrobe, which is a pretty cool, swanky venue in Leeds. And we are chatting with young Yusuf, who is the support act for Loki this evening. How are you doing, my man? Are you ready for the gig?
Yeah, thank you. Doing really well. Definitely feeling ready for the gig, feeling excited. Yeah, should be a really good one, for sure.
So big year for you. You've played Glastonbury Festival, and you're doing a few dates with... it's it's a really DIY independent thing that happens. Just can you tell us about like yourself and your music, and what a year you've had as an artist? Where are you at right now in your sort of excited life career? Yeah.
My life, wow. So my name's young Yusuf. I am a British-Palestinian rapper. I've been rapping for like 6-7 years. Used to go by the name Yusuf Yellow. I had a bit of a musical transition, rebranded, refocused. Been performing under Young Yusuf for a few years. I have a few projects out that I'm very proud of. And yeah, the year's been great. The year's been really great so far. A lot of gigging, met a lot of amazing people, a lot of new music in the works as well. So yeah, and you mentioned Glastonbury. That was a truly incredible time, some moments I will never forget. So yeah, all in all, it's going really well, and tonight's another one of those big moments, connecting with Loki again. So
you mentioned a couple of projects that you're really proud of, and musically, please pick one and tell us all about it.
So yeah, I've got 2 projects out. My debut project is Young Yusuf called Samud, and I'll be playing some of that tonight. Also Solaris, which is my second album that I'll be playing tonight. But yeah, super proud of the first one because it's, mainly talks about Palestine from, I guess, my own ground level perspective of how I was seeing things in London, how I was seeing things through the news and across the world, and how my family responded to things, how I responded to things, and try to really word all of my feelings from, that time of just after October 7th, and kind of put that into a project that I felt spoke on a lot of different points, and did a good job of wording a lot of the feelings that I had in that situation.
Palestine is in our hearts forever. We yell free, free when we march together. We don't retreat in the darkest weather. We unite and stand up to our oppressor. Palestine is in our hearts forever. We yell free, free when we march together. We don't retreat in the darkest weather. We unite and stand up to our oppressor. Slow it down, raise your voices so they know the sound. Had a look around and saw the streets crowded, feeling proud. Left hand bruised, had to share the truth as I was clapping loud. Face covered, but they'll hear me when I shout. I'm outside down the street with
that's the one I was Okay, I'm a bit of a rambler, sorry. But Solaris was my second project, but I actually had that album for many years, like for 5 or 6 years. I mean, but that's been like my child that I've been holding on to for a long time and hadn't been quite ready to let out into the world. But eventually it felt like the right time and put it out, and it's been a real journey since. But yeah.
I love that out of those 2 projects, you've got one that's responding to a very immediate situation, like the most impossible situation for like a human being to get their heads around. And whilst you were talking, I was forming a question in my head thinking, we've spoken to loads of different Palestinian artists, from theatre makers to poets and musicians, and the skill and like the gift of any kind of artist to take what everyone else can't put into words and finding a way of articulating that is something I'm so grateful for. So thank you for doing that and being a part of that world that does that. And then you start talking about a second album or project that has been your baby and you've not wanted to let go on. So can you tell us about those two different processes creatively? Why were you wanting to hold on to something for 6 or 7 years and working on it, and then against something else that's like feels so emergent and you've got it out really quickly?
Yeah, that was a really good question. I think there were 2 very different feelings and situations, but each very strong and clear feelings. Solaris, the reason I held on to it for so long is because I just had a deep feeling that it just wasn't the time to put it out. And I kind of try my best to follow those kind of deep inner feelings. And that's why I held on to it. It was so different from any of the music that I'd made around the time of it, as when I was going by my older name and I was making more jazzy hip hop stuff. And then we made this bassy, punky, electronic, like rap album that was so far from where we were. That was so many years ahead of where I was at the time. And I just knew like this thing was not for now. And I had to hold on to it and wait for the right time. And then that time eventually came, and I knew absolutely that like that was the time that the project needed to come out. And it was crazy, but like even some lines in the song were like syncing up with where I was at the time that I was about to release it. And I was referring to myself as Young Yusuf in this album from 5 years ago, before I was going by Young Yusuf, and that's what inspired the name change, and just a bunch of random little things.
We often feel trapped inside boxes that don't exist, convinced we must act certain ways to live. The pressures of external entities make us forget just who we're meant to be. The mind inside of mine is far from bliss. The journey I portray in this project projects past and present pressures used to tear the weathered souls. Paper pushed past 7 folds is how I'm feeling. I learned to listen not to lectures but to feelings. Tried to hide my weaknesses but realised the picture sounds cloudy without them. Click shuffle to allow me to shout them to you. I realised midway through that amidst the negativity lies hope.
The other one, Samud, was a very reactionary piece, I guess. That was just me, I don't know. So there were different approaches. I spoke to this with a friend, and I'm not one of those artists that can retain tons of historical facts and have all the details. Like, perfect example is Loki performing tonight. He has got one of the most intelligent, inspiring minds, and he can retain so much information. Does such an incredible job at, laying all of those facts out for me, I think where my strengths come are from my own self-awareness and from how I see the world in front of me. And I think the picture that I can paint through my lens is a vivid one. And Samud was that for me. It was me talking about what I was seeing in London at these protests and how my family was responding, how I was feeling about things. And there was, you know, I doubted that for a while and thought, oh, you know, is this style a good way of doing it? And I saw an interview talking about Ice Cube when he, you know, his verse in Fuck the Police. Sorry, am I allowed to swear on this? Or okay. But he was always like mainly coming from a ground level perspective of what he was seeing in front of him and how he was being treated and how the people around him were being treated. And that I just saw that as a moment of like, like that's kind of what I do in my weird own way. And it gave me more confidence in the approach, I guess. So, but the whole album was written like on trains, like back to and forth from work to protest to things I was seeing in London. And it was a weird one because it was like, you know, it was written so quickly. I think in a month it was written, but it didn't feel rushed at all. It was just, I just felt like I needed to speak about this straight away. And the words just kept coming. And the producer, Dylan the Infamous, just made this incredible soundscape for me to just let everything out on. And it just worked. And it was absolutely meant to be like that. So, yeah.
We always talk about in our personal lives, we talk about how when you've got a big decision to make, you've got to listen to your head, your heart, and your gut. And you want 2 out of those 3 things to be aligned. And even if there's small things in your life, actually, we can sort of use it when we're, you know, worried about something, going, do you know what, my head's talking about this, and it's giving me, this makes sense for all these logical reasons, but my heart, it's just not going there. And so I really respect you paying attention to that gut that said it's not the right time. And how amazing that then you've ended up having a, as you put it, a musical transition, which I love that phrase. And it's come out at the right time for you, which is amazing.
Poets, writers, lyricists, sometimes our writing knows more about us than we realise, and we have to listen to the writing and go, oh, actually, like, that's telling me something that I didn't know. It's like a sort of weird Ouroboros that swings round.
Ouroboros?
Yeah.
Look at you putting in the word Ouroboros into a conversation.
This is a high-cultured podcast.
Yeah. Ouroboros?
Should we talk about some of the singles? You put out some singles over this year. And yeah, it feels like, I was looking at sort of the output this year and I thought, oh, this is an artist that feels like they've got a lot of momentum behind them. It feels like you've got some, and obviously you've talked about some of the stuff. Would you talk about some of those singles and the some of the lyrics on them, what you hope listeners get out of them, a bit of insight?
One I'd really love to speak about is a single called Are You Okay, with an artist called Sun-Kissed Child, who's a really good friend of mine. And it was a really nice song to make because it was, I mean, there's a lot of pain in it as well, but it was kind of talking about the importance of checking in on your close friends and family in difficult times. And, you know, there were some particular difficult times that we both kind of related to, and just asking that simple question of, are you okay?
See the news, another bombing down south. I know you're sitting just 5 minutes out. Still sends shivers down spine. Little reaction on your side. You're getting used to all the killings left, right. Skip the city, go to the mount. And let me know when you're the safe and sound. Yeah.
Are you okay, love? I know you're not okay, but my heart breaks when you don't say much. I'm here if you need, and I'm sending love. I know words ain't enough. We need action when times get rough. Against traction, they post their captions, and it still happens, and most ain't fast. My heart jumps when I see the news. I feel like I'm seeing you and your family in Beirut. I think of Splinter is out there too. Our own government cause a harm, and they're still selling arms. Man, I hate this country. I just want to move far away, but tell me how you are today. Are you okay? It's something I try and make a conscious effort to do often, because I've been surprised by people's responses time and time again. And I feel like it's a super important thing to just do, because you don't know what someone might be going through. I'm really proud of that song. And like musically, I think it's really nice as well. It's like, I think although it's got like pain behind it, it's like the one song that I could like play at a party or like at a barbecue or a picnic or something and like feel comfortable to play in front of other people. It's like one of the more, I guess, easy listening songs that I've got. Pretty much everything else is just like heavy and intense, but like, I don't know, that's how I felt while making it. So.
And you said you're London based. You're London born and bred?
No, Essex.
Oh, Essex. That's basically the same thing. It's all down south, isn't it? It's all down south. It's all that. It's all basically, I don't know. No, get to Birmingham and then I've no idea what I know. I'm only joking. But you're not a stranger to Leeds. You've lived here for a long time. So how does it feel to be coming back and gigging in Leeds? And now I've set him up to slag Leeds off, haven't I? I've absolutely shot myself in the foot there.
It's always a pleasure to come back to Leeds and see familiar faces, such as my friends that are here. And my brother lives up here as well, so it's always lovely to see him and connect with people when I can. But yeah, I was here. I was at uni at the now Conservatoire. It was called College of Music at the time. Doing music production, and then I stayed for a few years working at the Hyde Park Book Club, which is, I always go back there. It's changed so much. I had one moment where I walked in not long ago and knew no one, and it broke my heart because like that was my spot. It still is the spot. It's just, people change, things change. But yeah, it's a beautiful place, and it's always great coming back. Like Leeds definitely feels like a second home. And it's always got that same energy where, whenever I come back, it's like, reminiscing and just, yeah, it always feels good. And especially to come back and be playing gigs and meeting new people as well, such as yourself, is lovely.
Is it the final question?
It's the final question.
Final question is, if you were going to recommend a song that our listeners should go and check out, what song would it be and by who? Okay. And why?
And how?
Oh yeah, there's a song called Politicians in My Eyes by a band called Death, who are an old punk band that I've just discovered recently, and the music is incredible, vivid, raw, and just everything you could want from political punk music. Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Politicians in my eyes. Reaching out, shaking.
Musicians in My Eyes by the American punk band Death.
No one can ever accuse us of not having a diversity of genres on this podcast. My goodness me. What a pleasure it was to speak to young Yusuf. Thank you so much for giving us the time of day. Everyone should go check them out.
The end is in sight for this episode. What a lovely episode. We had that conversation with Boff of an artist sort of reflecting on his career and his influences and going to people that inspired him and saying thank you and shouting out to the Disruptors. And then we had young Yusuf, who's at a transitional stage in his career where he's released music, but he's looking, what do I want to say next? What do I do next? What do I want to call myself? So, yeah, I've really enjoyed...
We've got Chris Campbell, who doesn't even know what to call himself, and I had to ask him, and he had a few different ideas, and hasn't even put any music up on SoundCloud yet, so I can't even tell you to go listen to more there.
Can I plug another Vandal Factory podcast episode? I think people should go...
Am I on it?
Yeah, you are, as a matter
Hey!
of fact. Go listen to our interview with Joshua Ederhunt, who is also an amazing rapper and a poet, if you want to dig down into the same sort of songwriting things that young Yusuf was talking about being a creative. Anyway, let's do our little wrap up. Thank you so much for listening. We don't get any support or any funding.
My mum and dad like our Facebook posts every now and then. So that's support.
It's support, and we thank that my mum and dad don't. But that's okay.
If you enjoy the episode, please tell us, and more importantly, tell your friends. Do it right now. Come on, if you're signing up and giving some money to James Acaster or some other famous comedian, have a word with yourself. Give some money and some love to us instead.
We've got a Patreon page where you can get cheeky bonuses if you drop us a couple of quid. Why don't you give us a 5-star review, because it really does help. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. Pop this chat into a WhatsApp group with your mates. Give us a share on social media. It's just me and Nat, so we massively appreciate it.
And if you're listening as this is released, we're in December 2025, so we will see you in 2026.
Send us a Christmas present.
I'm trying to be sincere and say, look after yourselves. Not an easy time, these festive periods, not necessarily, but I hope you all have someone to give some love to, and if not, let us know and we'll give you some love instead.
Our final track we're going to play is one of Boff's requests. It's Statue in the Square by Kay Tempest. I saw Kay perform this at Deershed Festival earlier this year, and talk about an artist owning the stage. I mean, we've talked a lot about amazing artists, but Kay is in their element at the moment, and this is a song goes out to all queer trans folk at the moment who are standing strong like statues. Solidarity all, and see you in 2026.
Bye!
Or this person that's passing me by has never seen one like me before. We endure it, keep reaching for it. Knee deep, we keep pouring life force in a formless void. We're too gorgeous to off the whole street when we walk. Are you transported? I cherish the ones who support us. Fear takes from us, but love restores us. You are not the sum of the things you do wrong in the eyes of someone who does not understand you. It's not a disorder or a dysfunction disgusting the way they discuss us, but just cause a person's not decent to me don't mean they're not decent to someone. The norm is not normal, it's a construction designed to stifle the inner life and increase production. They never wanted people like me round here, but when I'm dead they'll put my statue in the square. They used to tell their children not to stare, but when I'm dead they'll put my statue in the square. Yeah, they're 10 a penny, we're rare, and when we're dead they'll put our statues in the square. They can shake their heads in despair, but we've been there from the start and we ain't going nowhere. Spent my life trying to do things your way, normal didn't feel right. Trapped in a shrinking hallway, till it got too tight. Deep breath, fresh air when I broke the surface. Yes, we've all lost lovers, what's sad is a lost purpose. Reclaim it, reframe it, rename it, something more fitting. Contain it, champagne it, complaining never did nothing but hitting the ground. Running's a start, hold your position. Tape it up, tuck it and love it beyond condition. Watching the city surrender to rain. I remember to live is to change. I don't pray for the end of my pain, I pray for the strength to weather it. Pause on the brink of a gaping precipice. Hesitant, derelict, slow from the sedative. Terrified people never stop asking where the treasure is. I'm like, everything's relative, so don't be surprised when they shield their eyes. What they fear is a reflection of their own minds. They reveal themselves in their dead headlines. It's fine, we don't need permission to shine. They never wanted people like me round here, but when I'm dead, they'll put my statue in the square. They used to tell their children not to stare, but when I'm dead, they'll put my statue in the square. Yeah, they're 10 a penny, we're rare, and when we're dead, they'll put our statues in the square. They can shake their heads in despair, but we've been there from the start and we ain't going nowhere.